The first set work is Handel's And the Glory of the Lord from the oratorio Messiah, written in 1741. An oratorio is a large-scale musical work based on stories and words from the Bible. Oratorios began their life in the Baroque period, usually in Italy, and they were essentially made out of structures you would find in an opera, such as recitative, arias and chorus numbers, all acted out with scenery and in full costume. The main difference between opera and oratorio is that oratorio is based on religious themes. And the Glory of the Lord is the fourth movement of Messiah, the first chorus number, scored for a 4-part SATB choir with orchestral accompaniment. Background to the oratorio Messiah. Up until 1741, Handel had written many Italian operas in London, but these were now becoming unpopular with audiences. The idea of a sacred opera in English proved to be some kind of popular substitute. Because the church forbade biblical stories to be acted out in the theatre, Handel produced oratorios for concert performance instead. In the summer of 1741, Handel composed the famous Messiah over a very short period of only 24 days. It was first performed in Dublin in 1742. The piece itself, despite the religious nature of the subject, was intended for performance in a concert hall rather than a church. The original accompaniment was just a string orchestra and continuo, that's usually harpsichord or organ, with trumpets and timpani drums used in several of the uplifting movements, such as the famous Hallelujah chorus. After that, Handel went on to add parts for oboes and bassoon, although these are not given solo roles. Instead, they just double the string parts, and in places they double the vocal parts as well. It's worth saying that a lot of the time, the violins and the cellos themselves double the vocal parts as well. This chorus, And the Glory of the Lord, is built on a series of musical ideas, each relating to a separate line of the text. Handel's way of working was usually to state each idea as a single line, then to develop it in various ways. So we can identify 4 themes, 4 melodies in this chorus. Firstly, And the Glory of the Lord, the first melody, idea 1 or theme 1, has 2 characteristic features. The first 3 notes outline the triad of A major, bum bum bum, and the second feature is that the rest of the phrase moves upwards stepwise, like a scale. The setting of the words here is mainly syllabic. Idea 2 shall be revealed. This idea is built up using 2 1-bar descending sequences, ba 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 ba, and it is melismatic. That means several notes to one syllable on the word revealed. The third idea, And all flesh shall see it together, it's a repetitive idea of a very narrow melodic range, only 4 notes. Because it is repeated like this, it gives the impression of a firm statement, And all flesh shall see it together. And the fourth idea, For the mouth of the Lord has spoken it, is almost on 1 note. The basses sing it first of all. It stays on an A note for most of the time until the word spoken, where it moves up to a B. It's characterised by long repeated notes. It's to emphasise the conviction and the message the Lord hath spoken it. To achieve the strength of this lyrical statement, Handel doubles that part with the tenors and the basses together, all men. Harmony and tonality, as we've already said, the movement is joyful, and not only does the triple time meter help, but the allegro tempo marking also does. The key is actually in A major, a bright major key, and it modulates throughout. It changes key to the dominant key, that is E major, and also the dominant of the dominant, which in this case is B major. Minor keys are avoided because the words dictate that the prevailing mood should be joyful. Now I'm going to play through the work and comment on some of the features as we go through. So it starts with an orchestral introduction, which we're going to call the ritornello. This means a short, small repeating section throughout the work. There is a hemiola at the end of the string introduction. This is a rhythmic device where 2 bars of 3 beats in a bar is regrouped to feel like 3 bars of 2. Hemiola, very common practice just before the cadence in Baroque music. The introduction ends with a perfect cadence, chord 5 to chord 1, and ends in the home key, the tonic key of A major. That was my cat meowing. The altos enter with the first lyrical idea and the glory, and this entry has a monophonic texture. It's just the alto singing with no accompaniment for a few beats. As we've already said, the setting of these words is syllabic. At the end of the section, all voices, soprano, alto, tenor and bass, join together and form a homophonic texture where they sing in block chords to emphasise the end of the section. Again, perfect cadence closes the first section before we hear melody or theme 2, and all flesh. This melody is treated in imitation, where it's passed from one voice to the other. Following this, 2 themes are combined contrapuntally. Remember, between each vocal section, the short string introduction repeats. We call this a ritornello. It does come back in different keys, as we've mentioned, from A major to E major and B major as well. It's worth noting that the 4th theme, For the Mouth of the Lord, the repeated notes actually act as a pedal note, a tonic pedal, because we are in the key of A major at that point. The end of the whole movement ends with a plagal cadence, that's chord 4 to chord 1, which is typically associated with church music. The tempo in the last few bars slows to an adagio. There's also a general pause just before the last few words are sung, hath spoken it, and this emphasises the sense of drama at the end of the movement. So features of this piece are the combination and the mixture of vocal textures, from monophonic entry of the altos at the beginning to contrapuntal or polyphonic and imitative textures where we have different themes all sung at the same time by different vocal groups, to homophonic ends of the sections where all SATB voices sing together in the same rhythm to emphasise the end of a section. We've got sequences, melodic sequences in some of the melodies. The 4th idea forms a tonic pedal, the long held notes emphasising the weight of the words and the importance of the words. We have perfect cadences, which are harmonic devices, two chords at the end of a section which confirm the key and confirm the end of the section. Introduction, we have the rhythmic device hemiola just before the perfect cadence. Words that we should know at the end of the Handel. Cadence, two chords at the end of a phrase. There are four main types of cadence: perfect, imperfect, interrupted and plagal. The main two you need to know here are perfect and plagal. Hemiola. In triple time, this is a harmonic, no it's not, it's a rhythmic device, often used towards the end of a section, in which notes are grouped in 2 beat units instead of 3 beat units. Homophonic, a textural word, common musical texture comprising a melody part and an accompaniment. Or it can be used where all 4 vocal groups are singing in block chord rhythm. Imitative or imitation, literally separate parts, separate voices copying or imitating each other. If the imitation is note for note the same, we can call this canon. Modulation, simply meaning when the music changes key. A pedal note, a sustained note, usually in the lowest bass part. In the middle of a musical texture, if it's in the alto or the tenor, we can call it an inner pedal. If it's at the top, in the highest instruments or highest voices, we'd call it an inverted pedal. A perfect cadence, chord 5 followed by chord 1. A plagal cadence, as at the end, chord 4 followed by chord 1. The word tonic means the first degree, the first note of the scale, the key note. In this case, A, because we're in A major at the beginning and the end.